Hi guys, welcome back to Lea Valley and Engage. I'm Stu, and as you can see, we've had we have a lot more track being laid now, and we've got planning going on as well. So let's have a little look at this video and see what we've got, see what's happened and how we've done these things. Okay, so this is where you left us last time, with the actual bridge installed and with the two tracks installed on the bridge. Since I've made the last video, as a section of track's been laid here, we've installed some power track feeds and also installed this. So this is flexi track and set track at this end. I'm going to try and use set track on all of the ends of the boards as a solid base between each of the baseboard connections. So the next thing I need to do is I need to lay this line, which is the down line, including this set of points, this crossover, all the way up to the end of this board, and then we'll start on the up line, which is going to be an interesting one because we need to install a power feed here, track feed here, track feed at this end, and we need to install 4 insulating fish plates because this is going to be a separate track section to this. So we'll have to deal with that when we come to it. The other thing we've got on this, these will have point motors installed. So when we come to these points, we're going to have to install those. Also what I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure that I line this down line, which is this line, with this pencil mark. I don't know if you can see that there on the camera, whether it will appear very well. This is a straight line all the way across this board, just to try and make sure that it's all nice and straight, and we'll keep a good distance between the two tracks. When we get to laying the up line, I'm going to have to measure from this line across to the end of this and redraw this line because unfortunately when I've built the bridge it's pulled it away slightly from this line, so we're going to have to do that again. Yeah, that's pretty much that with that. The tools I'm using for a track lane, obviously pencil, very useful. File for when we cut track cutters, which the reason why I need the file is because they leave a slight burr on the edge of the track as you cut them. Got a pin chuck for the flexi track just to drill a hole for the track pins. I have a pin hammer, fairly self-explanatory what this is for. A nail punch, I can never remember what this is called. Nail punch, this is for just to punch the track pins in just that final stretch as they get below the sleepers. And then finally a drill, just to drill the track feeds through, and also drill the holes for the point motors, which will be these Pico solenoid point motors. I need to drill about a 9.5 gap which is across the bar here. So I'm going to mark this in both positions, get the point in the right place, mark it in both positions, then find the point between those 2 points, find the middle point, and from there we'll measure out to make 9.5. I'll probably do it a centimetre actually, just to be on the safe side, because Pico say you need 9.5, so we'll make it slightly bigger just in case. Yes, that's what we're going to do with that. Track feeds are a mix of Pico Electrics track feeds and also some we've soldered ourselves. Because apparently Soph, my wife, is much better at soldering than I am. She obviously is, a lot better with that. So we're going to get on with this, and hopefully we will, hopefully by the time you'll see it next, it will actually have 2 tracks on it, and we can get on to installing the point motors, hopefully. Okay, so as you can see, the track is now finished. I didn't have much problems with it. I've laid the second line now. I did that off of the camera, just because just wanted to get it all done and get it done as quickly as possible. So added in the track feeds. There's a new track section here. As you can see, there's insulating fish plates between these points and this section of track here. So that's all nice and done. These two sections of flexi track, either side of the bridge, this one and that one, just need pinning down. So that's one I can do. It is slightly out of line. If you have a little look here, there's a very slight kink in the line on that piece of flexi track between the points and the bridge. So I'm just going to have to make sure that that's in the right line when I pin it down. Apart from that, it all seems to be pretty good. Next thing I need to do before I do any more track lane, because the next options are either to carry on going in this direction and sort of head around the curve on this board and head around that way, or the next option is to head this way and add the second line on these other boards going around the room. The only issue with that is the track feeds, but also there's other issues with the joints. See, if you look, even with this one, there's quite a, I don't know if you can see that there. There's quite a step. There's a bit of a step between those. I have been using coach bolts and wing nuts just to get the tracker lined up, but these haven't seemed to work very well. And this is to try and aid getting the board on and off easier. So what I'm thinking of doing is that this might have to be removed completely. This little section here that I've got that just sits on the end of this board, so we can actually have a piece of wood on the bottom of this to connect to this board, and we'll just drill a hole through and do coach bolts. There's a few other boards. The other end of this board needs really needs adjusting. This area needs adjusting as well. I don't know if I mean you can see that even from this distance, and that's not particularly, if I move the light across. I mean, yeah, that's quite a gap there. So yeah, that needs adjusting quite a bit before I can do any track lane there. There's a couple other bits around the room as well on some of the other boards, like the join between this board and the next board is also a bit funny. So yes, I need to sort that out. There is this other line here. This is going to be a head shunt into the goods yard and stuff that's going to be in this sort of area at the moment. That's going to be one of the biggest bits after I've done all these fettling to make sure that the track is going to be joined up correctly. That will be the next stage, which will be planning all of this section, all this board, and putting the track line down, layout down. I would kind of like to, by the end of this month, get a complete circuit around the room. So that's going to have to be sorted out as well to actually in order to do that. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment. And next thing is going to be to sort out these track joints and finish nailing down this this piece of track. So yeah, I'll probably have another video when that is not another video. I'll show you another clip of that when that's finished and show you what I've done. Okay, so here we are back. So that's probably been a couple of seconds for you, but this has been nearly two days worth of work that's gone into this now. As you can see, there is a few changes here. There's a second line on this board. So in actual fact, this bridge board, or this board that I'm going to be removing in and out, that is actually completed now in terms of track lane. I still got to do the electrics. As you can see, these are the power feeds for the second line now. So they're still sitting there waiting to be done. So I'll show you that at some point when I get around to it. Next thing that's happened is that this board here, this joint, I tried using the coach bolts by screwing a piece of wood onto the bottom of this bit underneath where that bolt is now. It didn't work very well. It didn't line up at all. Well, it did line up, but it still wasn't perfect, and it was still moving a little bit. So what I decided to do is that it was fine at this end, and then when I did this end, it didn't work very well either. This is mainly because I believe when I actually built this board, the board has got a twist in it somehow, so it's actually slightly like that. So that's rather annoying. So what I did at this end was I put a piece of wood. This is the same stuff that I'm using actually, the 9mm ply, which is the same as the baseboard tops. This I then screwed underneath here to try and give it some support. I thought that would do it with a bolt underneath. Didn't work. So what I've done now is that I'm using these actual bolts like you would use on a gate to do this. So this just lines up like that. Very nicely done. And as you can see, the track lines up pretty okay. There's a slight gap here. There's a slight bump on this bit, but that's nothing that I could, it's not that I can solve it by actually just filing down one of these edges very slightly. That I don't mind. It's when it's offline this way, as in like this track is further to the left than this track, that's where the problem starts. This one is okay, because as long as these two are lined up, I can then, when I lay this piece of track, just make sure it lines up with this one. So yeah, so that's that bit sorted. And as you can see as well, if you look that way, there's a very minor sort of offset there that is easily solved by just giving it a shove. So we follow it back. As you can see, this one is slightly different now. So what I did was I originally just did it with these two bolts. But the thing was that wasn't working particularly well either. So what was happening is that it wasn't working with these two bolts just in by themselves. So I put this piece of wood underneath, and this is adjusted to the right height. Because of the twist, one side was actually dropping, which then pulled it out of line this way. As you can see, it's still a little bit like that now. So if I put the bolts in, and the other one, why is it on camera that it always makes it pretty rubbish? So as you can see, there's still a little bit of an offline there. And all that needs to be done is just give it a bit of a shove. And then, typical, the coach derails on the curb as it goes around. Just, there we go. Live TV and all of that. It'd help if I actually had a decent coach, but it does actually run around there. I have done it before. Why does it always, when you're actually filming something, that it never seems to work? But it does. It does work. I have checked it quite a few times. The other issue I had was when I finished getting this end. So I did this board first and get it lined up with this board where the canal is. I then went over here and then did this board, which then moved this board out, which is really annoying. So this has been done about 3 or 4 times to try and get it right. This board was pretty simple, straightforward. What I did was that what I was finding is that what I originally did when I did these holes is that I would I'd clamp the two boards together and then drill the hole. And what I was actually finding is that even when I was doing these other two boards, like when I did this board here, the board was moving when I went between the two sections. So when I drilled through all of this wood and then started drilling into this wood, it moved, probably by the impact of going through the first piece of, making the first part of the hole. So yeah, so that's what happened with that. So what I did was this one is I just drilled through it straight first without this board in at all. And then once I've got the hole in this piece of wood, I then drilled a second hole using this one as a guide to go straight through here to try and make them line up. And it seemed to work pretty well. So that's good. It is a lot better now, all lined up and all ready. One of the other things I did, because I'm limited at the moment, I've ordered some of the track feeds. So what I've done is that I've ordered enough to cover the rest of the room for 2 lines around this room. Yeah, don't look at that bit, that is a mess. So I can finish off that when it arrives, and where those wagons and coaches are, I can do that board too. These other 2 boards are going to take a little bit more work, not just because of the amount of mess on them. Easily a bit more planning to do it, and I'll show you some of that planning now, because that's what we've started to get onto. Okay, so we're now going to talk about some of the planning here, which is what I've been looking at. As you can see, so far these 2 tracks here, these 2 curves, these have been pinned down, but nothing else on this board is actually pinned down at all. This curve of track here is going to be a head shunt for the goods yard, which is going to be this section here, where the pencil is, and those 3 lines. But really, I've been trying to work out of what I'm actually going to do with all of this, because my main aim by the end of this month, I think I've said it in the video before, is I want to try and get 2 tracks around the room by the end of the month. So what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to plan this. So we're going to have 3 platforms, a down platform, up platform, and then we're going to have a loop bidirectional platform on the island platform here. And basically what I'm trying to do is that working out these points to try and make sure that we can actually fit the right amount of coaches, which I want to, right length of train that I want to get running to actually fit into this island platform. There's also other things I'm trying to put in here as well. So this is going to be a reception siding to a flat marshalling yard, which is what those points are for where the Class 26 is. So that's trying to get out a rough idea as to how long that will be. But mainly I've got to try and work this out, because I'm going to have a similar point at the other end. Hopefully not another double slit, because they are expensive. And then going along here, we're going to have another, the other connection on the other end. So really I'm trying to work out the length that we're going to have and whereabouts these points are going to be positioned. Now this board is fine now. I literally can nail down as much track as I want on both of these lines. But really it's going to be of where this point, the opposite point for this, is going to be. So that's what I'm trying to work out at the moment. I need to do a bit of measuring on this. The other thing as well, because we've got a staggered platform, this goods, the goods yard and the staggered platform, I'll explain. So this is going to be half of the goods yard. I found actually a couple of stations in the Lea Valley have split goods yards. Some have just, there's even, I think, Waltham Cross, I think even just had a goods shed and a cattle dock, and that was literally it in all of that part of the goods yard. And then the opposite side of the running lines, there was another goods yard that dealt with the coal merchant and the general merchandise and all sorts of other stuff. So that's a little bit different to what normally you would expect. But normally we think of goods yards as being one solid block of goods yards with the goods shed and the coal sidings and the cattle dock and everything in there. But it's not generally the case. So what we're going to do is that, with this being one section of a goods yard, I'm not sure which one it's going to be yet, although I have been doing a bit of measuring with the goods shed sides and stuff. Not 100% sure the goods shed's going to be here, so it might have to be in the other goods yard, which is going to be over there where all those locos are. So once I measure up how long this platform is going to be, I will measure back, and then I will work out whereabouts another point is going to be a trailing point, because it's going against the direction of travel. That's going to be up there, hopefully somewhere near where the camera stand is right now. So that's actually where that's going to be. On this other board here where the houses are, that is going to be a engine shed. Small little engine shed for tank engines and things like that. So yeah, so that's what's going to be there. So yeah, this is pretty much the planning stage at the moment. All I really need to do now is I need to start laying track. I can finish off one line here. So I have these track feeds that I've made up. I got more on order. So at the moment it's going to be finishing off this section of track, checking out some of these areas, because there's still some issues with the track, with the joins between the boards, and some of the boards actually, this board in particular may actually be warped in a place, possibly around this area here. So I've got to have a look at that and check that. Need to make sure the track is fitting nicely on those bits. So really the next major thing that I need to do is to put in the electrics for the other two boards, and also possibly for this board as well. That's a big thing that I need to do. Definitely going to finish this board off with the electrics. So yeah, so that will probably be the next thing to do. I have done a little double check of some of the footage on this, so this is probably going to be the end of the video here. So I thank you so much for watching. Probably not the most amazing video that I've produced so far, but hopefully on the next one we'll have a lot more track laying when it comes, because I've got more track feeds, more points, point motors as well. Hopefully be able to get them in. Especially still need to finish off these ones here. For these 2 points, and also need to lay this section of track for the head shunt as well. So that's what it's going to look like, hopefully. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next one, which will hopefully be at the end of the month. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and take care, everyone.